Welcome to Module 3, where we'll be discussing legal requirements and responsibilities. Legislation and guidance. So, right at the top of the tree we have the Health and Safety at Work Act in 1974, which underneath that gives birth to regulations. So regulations sit underneath the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. Sitting beneath regulations, we have approved code of practice, health and safety guidance, and also industry guidance. The Health and Safety at Work Act itself is criminal law, which means it can be punishable by imprisonment or by fines, and also regulations, they're also punishable by law. And also criminal law, whereby you can get fined and prosecuted for breaching the regulations. So regulations in this instance are the control of asbestos regulations and also the management of health and safety at work regulations. So the control of asbestos at work regulations 2012 specifically concern themselves with asbestos. And the management of health and safety at work regulations 1999. In this instance, it's quite an overarching regulation. So we're going to concentrate on the control of asbestos at work regulations. Approved code of practice themselves, they are sort of what's called quasi-legal law. They're not actually law, but if you fail to adopt any measures within them, then you must explain to the courts how the measure that you are adopting are at least equivalent to the approved code of practice. Health and safety guidance there, HSG 150, that is guidance for the construction industry. And also there's a number of industry guidances, specifically CLARE, which looks at the provides us with asbestos in soil guidance. So the control of asbestos regulations and the approved code of practice, which is L143. Easily available online. And also there is Asbestos Essentials, some of the supporting guidance. So if we just look a little bit further into the HSE website, we can see. So here I'm on the managing work with asbestos, the control of asbestos regulation. So this is the HSE website. So anybody can go on here and have a look. You can download free copy of the L143, which explains everything that you will need to know. It breaks the legislation down. Within the ACOP, it actually, if I scoop through here, it actually provides the guidance within the document as well. So the approved code of practice, the guidance, and also the actual law itself. So there is the law. So that's helped you. If you need to go on to the HSE website, you can download any of these documents. It's worth noting that the control limit for asbestos is 0.1 asbestos fibres per cubic centimetre of air. And you must know that it's not a safe level. Exposure must always be tried to be reduced as much as possible below that level. You're undergoing asbestos awareness training. This does not allow you to work with asbestos. But it's good to know that if you want to do further training, that the control limit has been set, and any work that is going to expose you above that control limit, then you will require licensed training and a licensed contractor. Duty holders. So these are persons who either own or have control of premises. Or also you could be a duty holder if you maintain or repair parts of a premise. So it's all about being able to identify where asbestos is in the building and providing that, making sure there's a duty holder to ensure that the asbestos gets identified. So part of that duty is to ensure that any ACMs are identified. And also maintain a written record of location and condition of any ACMs. Duty holders are legally required to assess the risk of exposure have a written plan to manage any risk, and also communicate that plan to anyone who may be at risk. So if within your building you have a management survey completed and you recognise that you do have asbestos containing materials, maybe asbestos insulating board, then anybody coming in to work on the building, you will need to bring that to the attention of that individual so they don't inadvertently expose themselves to asbestos. So if we again look back on the HSE website, we have an area called Managing My Asbestos. We have a very useful 1 to 12 point guide. So just quickly looking through that, there's a checklist for managing your asbestos. And we can quickly click through. Are you responsible for maintenance or repair? If you're not responsible, then you don't have to go any further. But if you are responsible, then you can use this very helpful online tool. When was the year built? Brownfield sites, it talks about equipment. Where I'm actually trying to get to here at the moment is looking at this page. I want you to look at this page so you can have an example site plan if we just click on that. So once you've undertaken your management survey, you then need to document whereby you do actually have asbestos. There's also a checklist for places and materials that can obtain asbestos. Very useful to know their equipment. So certain types of plant, to certain equipment, ovens, brakes, soundproofing, ironing surfaces, insulating, matting, and also fire blankets, fire insulation in or on doors, and insulating gloves. If we just click back and then go forward again, let's have a look. There's also a blank asbestos register that can be used. So I hope you found that useful. So as stated, it usually forms a management survey, an asbestos register and an asbestos management plan. Refurbishment or demolition. This is a second type of plan, second type of survey, sorry. So refurbishment or demolition survey is undertaken when it cannot be proved that asbestos is not present and you wish to undertake any work on the structure of the building. The survey must locate and identify all asbestos containing materials before any structural work begins at a location or on a stated equipment at the premises. So before you undertake any work, you must ensure a refurbishment or demolition survey has been undertaken by a competent person. Very important. Employer duties relating to training. So Regulation 10 of the Control of Asbestos at Work Regulations discusses training, information, and also instruction. So this is an important point. Asbestos awareness training, like the type you're doing now, should be given to employees who could be exposed to asbestos or who supervise or influence the work. Additional training must be provided for those who work with non-licensed ACMs. So this training does not enable you to to work on asbestos. Just looking through some of their paragraphs. Asbestos awareness will not prepare employees or self-employed contractors to carry out work with ACMs. Awareness training is only intended to help employees avoid carrying out work that will disturb asbestos or ACMs. Paragraph 237. If work is planned that will disturb ACMs, further information, instruction and training appropriate to the work will be needed. Paragraph 238 mentions non-licensable work, including notifiable non-licensed work. So in addition to the asbestos awareness in paragraphs 235, those employees whose work will knowingly disturb ACMs and which is defined as non-licensable work or notifiable non-licensable work should receive additional task-specific information, instruction and training. It's very important to reiterate that this training does not allow you to work on asbestos. And some employee duties, general duties. So if you're going into a premises to work, it's important that you request to see the survey and the register. If you're not provided with a survey of the register, then you should not be undertaking any work on that building. You should follow the emergency action plan should you discover or disturb what you believe may be asbestos containing materials. And as iterated, do not work with any ACMs unless you have the correct level of training. Very important. So just to recap, some confirmation of knowledge from Module 3. The asbestos regulations are criminal law. This means if you or your employer breaks the law to do with asbestos, then you will be punishable by fines up to imprisonment. Asbestos awareness training does not enable you to undertake work with asbestos, and persons in control of premises should undertake a management survey for asbestos. And any alteration to a building requires a refurbishment or demolition survey. That's the two types of survey, the management survey and the refurbishment or demolition survey.